Well, you had a quick review around the time you were in theaters, then you had a Try Not to Cry challenge, and you recently had a whole live stream reaction to the whole movie review. And since OCP Communications gave you a review around the very week of the Oscars, I think it's time I give you a proper review now.
Those were up, and they did.
More smarts, and my...
He told me enough.
No, I.
Here's Chuck.
Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I'm here with a brand new movie review. And this movie review is going to be for a film that came out last year, around during the holidays. This movie's popped up on my channel many times. I gave it a quick review during the 3 films I saw over the holiday break. Then I gave it a Try Not to Cry challenge. And you all recently saw I gave it a live stream reaction. But I never really gave an actually full review for this movie. So I thought I felt like I finally do it. As you obviously should know, this review is going to be for none other than last year's The Whale, which is directed by Darren Aronofsky and is the return of Brendan Fraser. The Oscar-winning return. Before we get into all that stuff, what's the plot of this movie? Well, taking place in Idaho during 2016, I think it's 2016, it's scarred by the profound wounds of grief and guilt, couch-bound Charlie, an online writing instructor living with chronic obesity, now has a crystal clear view of his secret intentions, and confined to his claustrophobic and musty apartment, self-destructive shut-in, has all the time in the world to contemplate the damaging faults of the past, fatherhood, and reconciliation. Because more than anything, flawed Charlie longs for communication and reconnection. After all, he hasn't even spoken to his strange, angry teenage daughter Ellie in years. But everyone knows whales don't live in the shallows. Can love and forgiveness wipe away the tears and the painful mistakes of a lifetime? So, how was this made? Well, Darren Aronofsky tried to get this film made for over a decade, but could not do it because he struggled to find the right actor to portray Charlie. After seeing portions of Fraser's performance in a trailer for Journey to the End of the Night in 2006, he decided that Fraser would be a good choice. And the original play was set in 2009, but the setting was updated to 2016 because Hunter wanted to show the events as being a major seismic change, and since doing that would make it clear that the play's events were prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. In the original play, Thomas, an evangelical Christian missionary, is instead a Mormon missionary. The Liz character in the original play and in the screenplay did not have her ethnic background or race specified. The actress chosen to portray Liz, Chow, is of Asian heritage. The final screenplay specifies that Liz was adopted as a way of accommodating Chow's casting. It was not initial versions of screenplay, which has argued that Liz should have an unkempt look and should be tattooed as aspects that were incorporated into the character. Then on January 11, 2021, it was announced that A24 had obtained global distribution rights to The Whale, directed by Aronofsky and starring Fraser, Han Chow, Sadie Sink, and Samantha Morton joined the cast in February, and followed by Ty Simpkins in March. And Seth Sandaran joined the cast on an unknown date. Now, at one point, originally the film was set to star James Corden with Tom Ford directing, but Ford left due to creative differences. George Clooney was even briefly going to consider directing the film, but he ultimately declined. So, after the whole film was shot and advertised, The Whale premiered at the 79th Venice International Film Festival on September 4th, 2022, and had a limited theatrical release in the United States on December 9th before a wide release on December 21st by A24. The film polarized critics. The cast performances, especially those of Fraser and Shaw, received praise. It had grossed over 50 million worldwide on a 3 million budget. And for his performance, though, Brendan Fraser actually won the Best Actor at the Academy Awards, Critics' Choice Awards, Screen Actors Guild Awards, and was nominated to Golden Globe Awards and British Academy Film Awards. The film also won the Academy Award for Best Makeup and Hairstyling and received a Best Supporting Actress nomination for Han Chow, as well as a nomination for the Producers Guild of America Award for Best Theatrical Motion Picture. As for my reaction, well, y'all remember when I heard of this movie being made. Y'all should know, after Mother and how he handled the reactions to Mother, Darren Aronofsky had kind of lost my respects because of some controversial things he does and some controversial behaviors of his. And not only did he make Mother, he also made that awful Noah movie. Yeah, which sucked. So I had doubts originally for a bit on him coming back and doing another film. The movies I did like from Darren Aronofsky were Requiem for a Dream, The Wrestler, Black Swan. Pi I thought was okay. I don't remember much about it though, other than that it's black and white. It was the first thing he did. The Fountain with Hugh Jackman I have not seen, so I can't say anything about it. If you have seen The Fountain, let me know in the comments below if I should give it a watch. But those three, Requiem, Wrestler, Black Swan, those I did love from him. Those were his best films. And then I saw that Brendan Fraser was going to be in this film. And now when it comes to my thoughts on Brendan Fraser, I always found him to be one of the most underrated actors of all time. Like films like George of the Jungle, The Mummy and the Mummy Returns, Looney Tunes Back in Action, Journey to the Center of the Earth. All that were all my favorite Brendan films. I have not seen Encino Man either, but Encino Man was apparently quite a few 90s kids' childhoods. And Dudley Do Right even. Ironically, Looney Tunes Back in Action actually the first film I saw from him, and I remember when he visited the fan expo that happened before COVID became a pandemic. And this was and I actually asked a question about Looney Tunes Back in Action at the Q&A at that con, and here's this question right here, guys, if you want to check this one out.
Alright, over here, we'll take one for Brendan.
Alright, I think my favorite film from you as a kid was Looney Tunes Back in Action. What was probably your favorite moment when you made that film?
Sharing the screen with Bugs Bunny. Because we're friends here. Daffy Duck is an asshole. Seriously, it's all about Daffy. Ripping pages out of the script. What's his name? You know, but Bugs is actually, he's the Iceman. He's totally cool. He's approachable, friendly, you know, salt of the earth.
Yeah. So, Brendan's big comeback is what got me interested in seeing this film. After all the shit he went through, no thanks to Hollywood blacklisting him all because he came public and revealed that he was assaulted, Hollywood then pretty much dropped him from Hollywood for good. Until this movie. Which is very screwed up and disgusting. That they basically dropped him for more future roles, all because he came public and revealed the truth. And this was around after the time he literally got divorced. So Hollywood was kind of evil. He did not deserve to be dropped like that at all. But anyway, you all know that I saw the film in theaters and really liked it when I saw it in theaters, and I rewatched it on DVD last night. You all saw in that live stream. What did I think about it? Well, you should know I obviously enjoyed it. I know, I kind of already said that though, but this may also be the best drama I've probably seen in years. And I really love Fraser won the Best Actor at the Oscars because it was one of the most well-deserved awards in decades. So many films I liked actually won Oscars. Films I actually liked. Finally, the Oscars are actually not a joke for once. Like, Everything Overall once won Best Picture. Ki Kwan won Best Supporting Actor. No, that's okay. What is it? Michelle Yeoh won Best Actress. Jamie Lee Curtis won Best Supporting Actress. So finally, an Academy Award season where movies that actually deserve to be winning awards for once. At first, that was probably the best Academy Awards in decades. And this is coming from somebody who doesn't really care for the Oscars. But like in Bren's speeches at the Critics' Choice Awards and the Academy Awards, you can feel all the emotional reactions he had to all his wins and all the amazing speeches he gave out. You should go check out his speeches. Like, you can tell how overjoyed he was receiving all this praise from people who were happy to see him coming back and doing films again. What this movie did was, unlike lots of dramas today, this even also made me reflect on my choices I made in the past. And Charlie was actually a character I could literally identify with, because during my younger days, I had kind of a serious junk food addiction, and sometimes even still struggle with it. I still did work out often 3 times a week during that time, but it was mostly just usually walks and nothing really physical. I was worse. In the summers and winter or fall holidays caused me to keep relapsing whenever I tried to get out of it. However, seeing this movie actually helped me wake up and realize what I was doing to myself, and ever since then, around the first week of January this year, I've been working out much more than I used to, and honestly, I've been doing much better ever since then. Now back to this review. The film itself is quite less pretentious and more honest than most of A24's films to date. It has more of a down-to-earth, straightforward delivery than most of Aronofsky's perplexing work. And honestly, with the subject matter it needed to be, and relies mostly on pure emotion and struggle, which is so masterfully by Fraser. Like, there was a lot of preconceived outrage over reactions and ridiculous assumptions based on the fact that Fraser's wearing a fat suit and getting prosthetics to appear as a morbidly obese person. I don't see why this is a problem. Like, due to the fact this is a film made to entertain to do, sometimes you wear things or makeup to alter looks. It would be difficult to cast a real-life person off the street and have them pour their real emotions out on screen. I don't see that being easy. Like, award-winning playwright Samuel D. Hunter adopted his own play for the big screen, and it's one that will surely drag you down and pound your emotions, even as it memorizes you. We first hear like Charlie's soothing voice as he addresses the online college writing class he teaches. We see the student's faces on his laptop, but Charlie's square is blacked out. He explains the camera's laptop is, broken, because he doesn't want to reveal his real self to his students. One student even asks, when is his webcam going to be fixed? He's like, and then of course he's like, okay, I get that must have been a joke, and yes, my webcam is still broken. Then class ends, and Charlie's friend Liz, played by Han Chow, very great performance from The Menu and Watchmen, shows up to read his blood pressure at 238 and 134. Charlie's this massive human being, barely mobile and near death. And Liz is pretty much this nurse intense to Charlie in a sense of loyalty and carrying through their friendship. The origin of which we learn later in the story, like Thomas, played by Ty Simpkins from Jurassic World and the Insidious movies, says he's a missionary from New Life Ministries, knocks on the door, and Charlie's in medical distress. Liz treats Thomas as an intruder and demands he leave, while Charlie remains civil to him. And given his ticking clock, Charlie reaches out to his teenage daughter Ellie, played by Sadie Sink from Stranger Things. The two haven't seen each other in a year since Charlie's left for a new lover, and to say that Ellie has pent-up rage and anger directed her, long lost dad would be also shows up still angered at her lost dad for abandoning her. She blows into his apartment like a tornado, often every scene she's in, spewing venom towards Charlie. They do come an arrangement that entices her to return to visit while he agrees to assist with her delinquent school assignments. And the whole movie takes place in Charlie's apartment, all of it. However, we do get brief glimpses of the outside area, so we aren't inside the apartment the whole movie, not unlike Mother, where we are literally, and it comes at night, where we're literally just in the houses the whole movie. We don't even hardly see the outside. Performances by Brendan Fraser, Stacey, and Han Chow are absolutely fantastic. That's something almost everyone knew before going in. What really touched me was the detailing, though, which they showed why each character behaves in certain ways and how everything ended up this way. The absolute helplessness of humans under a system and subsystems across various levels of power that are meant to make life better creates more obstacles for everyone involved and are arguably the root of the evils here. But the way each person deals with the evils they face is entirely different, even those reactions have so much in common. And that is really reflected in each of the performances. Like, each of them shows a variety of emotions that are so innate and makes her a break even more with the contrast between the philosophies of life and how life treats them. What was further surprising me was the thorough nuance of which the film's sensitive themes are explored. Like, Aronofsky's not a subtle filmmaker as I've seen with his films, but each of these characters is given such good depth and is portrayed with the flawed perspectives of enduring desires on full display. And there's not really a hero or villain in this movie. Everyone's kind of just made out to be both to an extent, and it's heart-wrenching to come to know these people through the film and watch them seek redemption. Some have criticized the screenplay as melodramatic, but I don't find this to be the case. I found it authentic, tragic, and full of intrigue that compounds as more information is revealed. And not only did Fraser return to acting, also Ty Simpkins returned to acting after he took a hiatus after his brief cameo in Endgame during Tony's funeral. So it's also nice to see him return to acting here. And Han Chau's list was also great too. Like, her back and forth chemistry with Fraser was very enjoyable, and although Brendan Fraser is easily the best thing of this movie, period. Like, it sounds cliche to say he transformed himself and he deserved an Oscar, but all that chatter out of the festivals last year was all true. His performance here was unlike anything that he has ever done. My eyes couldn't leave the screen due to his performance. I found The Whale slightly slow, but the film also flew past because I was loving him in the film so much. Aronofsky directed a career-best performance out of Fraser, and it's why I love watching this movie overall. This is not a film that holds your hand. It wants you to ponder and discuss. The acting is superb. It's Fraser because Fraser was just born to play Charlie here. And no, like, I honestly don't think anyone else could have played Charlie perfectly other than Brendan. At no point I was not convinced that Charlie couldn't be a real person. His problems and emotions are very real. There are emotions that many of us have and that many may even deny. Aronofsky has always dealt primarily with the theme of obsession taken to the extreme, to the point that it deteriorates or even ends the protagonist's life. Like, his formula is, like, Act 1, it establishing the obsession acts, and then Act 2, the transformation to a deep obsession, Act 3, in full obsession mode, life withers or ends. Or how usually his movies go. Like, in Pi, the obsession was understanding the nature of the universe. In Requiem for a Dream, we all know, it was obsession with drugs. The Fountain, it's apparently immortality. The Wrestler, it's wrestling. Black Swan, it's ballet. And Noah, devotion of God, done horribly. Mother was building and maintaining a stupid house. Those two movies stunk. The end. But this time around, we have skipped straight to the end of Act 3. We open with cardiac arrest immediately, establishing that his life is ending imminently, but does this mean the formula is broken? Not entirely. The acts are still there, they just happen in the past relative to the story's present setting, and therefore it falls on the viewer to interpret everything. In fact, interpretation is the central theme of this entire film. The very first dialogue in the reading of an essay, which contains a very interesting interpretation on Moby Dick, even going as far as to interpret something about the author's very own life. We then see how the protagonist interprets the essay and applies it to his own life, shows that interpretation works on many layers. Not to mention, is also an English teacher online, which uses the interpretation of various literature and applying it to one's own life, and he's all about honesty and authenticity. And when Thomas reads a biblical passage, he interprets this and applies it not only to Charlie's life but also his own. Heck, even a pizza guy must have formed his own interpretation of what Charlie looks like, until finally curiosity got the better of him. This is in fact why it bothered Charlie so much. It wasn't just that the guy physically saw him and violated his privacy, but even more importantly, as an idealist and optimist, he vastly prefers when people use their imagination to form interpretations of something, over getting bitten by cynical, cold hard reality which stamps out of the infinite possibility of interpretation. This is also why he keeps his webcam off during teaching. The Whale is also just many things, just disgusting, pathetic, deeply tragic, but also strangely uplifting. There are few films I've seen that made me feel those emotions so strongly. Strongly enough, the complex relationship he has both with himself and a few other characters in this movie are absurdly heart-wrenching, and Fraser sells out the hell out of them. Hitting all the right notes without falling into melodramatic exaggeration. The Costa's co-stars are also very talented, but it feels like this movie everything they mostly serve to highlight Fraser's nuanced performance. That being said, I do feel like the script of Saint Six roles quite over the top, which I'll get to in a bit. Even though the point was to depict her in a certain way, which could have been done with more subtlety, this does somewhat undercut her otherwise brilliant emotional climax. The Whale is also even comparable to Aronofsky's #1 masterpiece, Requiem for a Dream. It's a great movie I'm not sure I'll ever have the strength to ever watch again, but I'm glad I still got to watch it. And unlike Requiem, I feel like The Whale has in its own way given an oddly positive feeling that keeps me thinking about it. And The Whale, yeah, it does feel like a stage play brought to screen. It always takes place entirely in one setting, and I don't know why that's such a bad thing for some people. I would have found it incredibly hokey if the 600-pound man went on some sort of journey. I was underwhelmed by the fat suit does look a little CGI sometimes, but it still looked fantastic, but not as gross as everyone was saying it was. Like, what were people expecting? A grotesque body horror? No. The story isn't just about a fat guy and his problems. It's about why he's fat. It's about self-destruction, about how one person's fall from grace causes others to fall, and it's about trying to end that cycle. It's about the importance of having someone who cares enough to be honest. And I really thought it was a beautiful movie, and a lot of people seem to completely miss the point because they couldn't get over a guy in a fat suit. There was a certain scene that actually had me glued to the screen. It was definitely the infamous binge-eating scene after where the pizza guy sees Charlie for the first time and he's a little shocked and horrified seeing Charlie. And Charlie then pretty much usually Charlie has this routine every night where he'll order pizza from this certain place or 2 pizzas from this certain place, and he'll leave the money in the mailbox for the pizza guy to take. That's how pretty much it goes. Usual routine goes every night. We finally see him eat the pizzas, or clearly how it all happens, and it's not pretty. Nope, and then he eats. Pretty much horks down both pizzas he ordered within seconds, then writes this explicitly rude email to his class account saying, "Fuck these essays, write something honest." And then he puts a load of ranch and some bologna on one of his pizza slices. And after that, he takes out 2 pieces of bread, puts chips in it, and then pours grape jelly in that sandwich and horks it down and then vomits. A very well done, disturbing scene that hits you very hard. And the ending is just absolutely heartbreaking. It's one of the few downer endings that doesn't feel preachy, and it does feel well earned because a happy ending would not work for the story at all. And Charlie does also somewhat find peace with his daughter before he peacefully dies and goes to heaven. So I really love that right there, and it's a very heartbreaking ending, and a very heartbreaking performance right there, and a very tragic end for the character as well. However, does the movie have some bad qualities? Yeah, for sure. First off, I do hate the opening scene that does introduce us to Charlie, instead of just his voice, his actual self, where he's literally shown masturbating to gay porn. And I was like, that's kind of a weird way to introduce us to the character. Like, couldn't they just introduce us to the character, like show him porking down this huge container of Pringles or some other kind of unhealthy food, like, and then his near heart attack happens? That would have been a better way to introduce us to the character. And also, there's one character that just pisses me off the whole movie. Yeah, it's the daughter, Ellie. For fuck's sakes. This chick is insufferable brat in like every scene she is in. Sadie Sink gives a good performance, but her character is the worst. Charlie's like literally trying to reconnect with her the entire film, and all she does is basically treat him like shit. There's not one good scene between these two. Not only that, but she even posts bad stuff on her Facebook profile like a dead dog, and she even fat shames her own dad on that profile of hers as well. And then she makes him walk towards her without the walker that he needs to move, and when he fails, she just storms out. That's not all I'm saying. The final shoot she does that pretty much just makes her irredeemable for me was when she literally drugs Charlie's sandwich, breathes smoke in his passed out face, and then literally, and she even yells at him to die before she storms out. So in a way, she pretty much nearly murdered her own dad. Like, the scene where she tells Charlie to die is just straight up made me want to yell a swear bomb out loud, which I did not because I was in a theater of people. And people can say that you missed the whole point of her character. She was abandoned when she was a baby. Yeah, I guess she was abandoned at an infant age, but that doesn't excuse a single ounce of her fucked up actions or evil deeds at all in this whole movie, at all. Now that I mention that, kind of all the side characters are kind of unlikable with the exception of Thomas. I mean, Liz is eh. And I guess the ex-wife seemed like fine at first, and until then she also storms out after her one scene visit with Charlie. People can say whatever they want about Thomas, but in Thomas's first scene, did he show disgust when he saw Charlie or even got annoyed with him or fat-shamed him in his first scene? Well, before his final scene anyways, when he's about to leave and visits Charlie one final time. However, those bad qualities do not ruin this movie at all, and I still love this movie and consider it one of my favorite films from last year. In the end, I highly recommend The Whale to the Fraser, A24, and Aronofsky fans as a watch and buy for your collection for sure. Anyways, that's it for my review of The Whale. If you're wondering how I'm going to rank The Whale, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you want to see Brendan Fraser come back to Hollywood after many years of absence, then I would definitely highly recommend watching and buying this movie for your collection for sure. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank The Whale, I'm going to give The Whale an 8 out of 10. There we go. That wraps up my review for The Whale. Yeah, it seemed a little long, but I just had to get a lot of stuff off my chest, so, a little announcement to make, guys. So, around like May-ish, I'm going to be getting moved down to the basement. So, this month may be the last month you're going to see of this place. I mean, of this room anyways. Not this place, but this room. So this month's probably going to be the last month you'll see me doing reviews in this room because I'll be moving down there around like May or sure. Beginning early summer, I'll be moving down there to the basement. So you'll be seeing videos from that background. Till then, guys, that'll be it for this review. Thank y'all for watching. If you like this, want to see more, and don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.